Hello everyone. Today we are here to learn about a very important topic from the paper GS4, that is ethics paper for our mains UPSC mains syllabus. And the topic that we are going to learn today is attitude. We will learn what are the different components you have to study under this topic, what type of questions are asked, and what is the content basically we have to write in the questions about attitude. So we will first look at the syllabus of attitude, that is attitude, content, structure, function. Also its influence and relation with thought and behavior, and moral and political attitudes. The kind of questions that are asked are application based, where you have to identify what kind of value system or what topic from the syllabus is asked, and if you understand that the question talks about or demands about attitude, then you can address the question very well using the content that we are going to discuss in this topic. Okay, so first we will try to understand what is attitude. The definition of attitude is: an attitude is a learned tendency or a settled way to think or feel about something. If there is any particular incident, topic, the way we feel about that topic is our attitude towards that topic. For example, fear towards snakes. If we are afraid of snakes, that is our fearful attitude towards snakes. Attitude and values both include beliefs, but in case of attitude, the belief is about some object, which can be a person, place, thing, ideology, or an event. Attitude can be positive or negative. What is the difference between values and attitudes? Values are what we feel, what are our principles or feelings about something, whereas attitude is directed towards a particular object. In positive attitude, for example, focus on the brighter side. It is positive attitude, that is, leafy vegetables are healthy. This can be positive attitude. The same object can be seen through a negative attitude, that is, leafy vegetables don't taste good. If we have to concise this concept in a particular line or definition, we can write: it is a predisposition to think, feel, and act in a particular way. Now, how does this attitude help us? We will look in the further discussion. First is socialization. Attitude develops through the things and people in the surrounding. If we have to develop our attitude, in general attitude or about something, there are certain tools to develop this attitude. First tool is socialization. The surrounding we live in, the people we interact with, they play a very important role in the formation of our attitude. For example, the food preferences of different regions. The food preferences of North India is very different from the food preference of South India, and that is a result of the socialization. Now, this socialization can be direct or indirect. In direct socialization, it is something which we experience ourselves. For example, if our family has very strong patriarchal values, the same values are imbibed in the children. Those are experienced by our own self, and they are very resistant to change. We are not able to change them easily unless certain reasons or rationality is provided. For example, those who have witnessed riots in their own area have strong negative attitude towards violence because they have seen the negative effects of it. Those who have seen it just on the TV may not have that strong attitude. Now, let's come towards indirect attitude, indirect socialization. For example, I see something on television. The same example we can carry forward is of riots. If I see riots on television, I won't be as strongly opinionated about it as a person who has actually faced those. That is indirect socialization. For example, there is an enemy country. We do not know how that country functions or what are our relations about with that country, but still we have a negative attitude about it. That is indirect socialization. Next, we will come towards the next tool of developing socialization is parenting. There are three types of parenting. First is authoritarian, second is permissive, third is authoritative. The difference between these three are, first is authoritarian has bureaucratic personality. That is, the child has to follow what is told. Permissive is children get whatever they demand. Policies like one child policy, or which has minimum constraints. Through this one child, this is the effect of one child policy, that there's only one single child and the child gets whatever they demand. Authoritative attitude regulate behavior but also promote independence. This is the most balanced way to develop an attitude. That is, for example, night outs are allowed but not regularly. If the night outs are not at all allowed, that is authoritarian. If they are allowed but regularly, authoritative. And if they are completely allowed, then permissive. Next point is culture. Culture is a very important tool in any society. Values like respecting others, guests, touching feet of elders. This is all the attitude that develops through socialization. Next we will see socioeconomic conditions. The socioeconomic conditions of a person are very important to develop their attitude towards something. Let us see this in detail. A person with good socioeconomic conditions shows positive attitude towards things, whereas one with poor conditions strives to get better. For example, if there's a poor kid and he sees something very lavish, or other kid eating food from McDonald's, that develops an attitude of jealousy among them or competition among them. Whereas if the socioeconomic condition of two children are equal, the feeling of jealousy or competition is comparatively very less. Then administrators should strive for positive interdependence, that is collective work. When we enter in administration, our attitude should be positive, that is healthy competition and no space for jealousy. Next tool is education. Now, education is a very important tool to develop certain attitudes in people. The values we learn from family are made stronger or even contended with the help of education. For example, a child who experiences domestic violence at home may develop about values or attitude about gender equality through his education and the rationality he gains there. This was all about how to develop the attitude. Now let's come towards the next topic, that is content, structure and function of attitude. The content comprises of what does the attitude comprise of. The structure is how the attitude works, and the function is what are the applications of this attitude in daily life. Let us come towards the content of attitude. There are three basic components in shaping one's attitude. Those are learning, emotion and behavior, which is called cognitive component, affective component and the behavior component. Attitudes are a result of social influence, experience and upbringing. These develop strong emotions about any particular object which influences the behavior of people. Now, for example, one has the learning, that is knowledge, that snakes are poisonous. It is called cognitive component. Then one associates an emotion with the component, that is I fear snakes. That is the affective component. And if I see the snake, I will run away. That is the behavior component. This implies that one had some knowledge about an object, then we develop emotions about that object, and those emotions are translated into actions. That is the content of attitude. Now let us see these components in detail. The cognitive component refers to the knowledge we have about an object and the belief we associate with it. The person forms an opinion from the available information from external sources or their own experience. Can lead to stereotypes. For example, all snakes are poisonous, that is our belief. Politicians are corrupt, or Western countries are progressive. These are the knowledge. These are the elements of knowledge we have. Now let's come towards affective component. It refers to how an object makes you feel. If we have a knowledge about certain object, We associate our emotions with that object, and that is the affective component. It arises feelings such as pleasure, hate, fear, anger, happiness or sorrow. It makes one resistant to fact. If we feel very strongly about something and we are told opposite things, it is very difficult for us to believe those things. You cannot, for example, one cannot stop loving their mother despite any fact, or a mother can't stop loving her children even if he is a criminal. That is the affective component, which is very strong. The emotions are generated in response to an object, person or idea. For example, all snakes are poisonous, so I fear snakes. Politicians are corrupt, so I have aversion to politics. Or Western countries are progressive, so the attraction towards Western practices increases. And affective component also leads to prejudices. Administrators are expected to detach themselves from emotions to work efficiently. For example, an officer or bureaucrat has to work with the same efficiency under any political party or government. Now let's come towards the third component, that is behavior component. Behavior component refers to how one wants to act. This aspect is about the intention or tendency to act in a particular matter. How our emotions are translated into our actions, that is the behavior component. It is generally the visible component of attitude. For example, in civil services, the behavior is not just about being impartial. It is about being also seen as impartial. Even if a person is very honest, but he is not able to show his honesty, the effect of his values is very less. The visibility shows the impartial attitude of the officer. Now, let us use our previous examples to explain this component. If we fear snakes, then we will run away from the snake. If we think that Western countries are progressive and we are attracted towards them, then wearing Western clothes is the action component. This mostly comes from past experiences and also external experiences. People avert cognitive dissonance and hence to align the present behavior with the past. So, to sum up this topic, we can say cognitive component assigns emotion to affective components, which results into behavior component. The behavior component once again creates experience and knowledge to form a cognitive component.